Hello there. Please give me a second of your time. What you will get in return is a broadened mind. The point of philosophy is to question the world. Why, you may ask? To find knowledge that's burled. Leave it to a philosopher whose ramblings seem null, but I promise if you listen, you will hear the opposite of dull. Classification, a cave, and a computer with a brain. The topics we will talk about will not be tame. So join me on this lecture and watch me think, and afterwards, I'll even pour you a drink. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Us philosophers like to have fun. I kid. But more important, I would like to talk to you about our first topic, the topic of classification. Classification, as an idea, is the idea of putting individual objects into groups. In general, we can define this as if you play football, you're an athlete. That's a subgroup. Or we have cities, then we have parishes, counties. We have to classify areas, physical objects, physical things. Where this gets tough is when we talk about it in a philosophical nature. Let us take the case of water. In general, water as its normal state at room temperature is a liquid, where it has the ability to get objects wet. I'm able to pour a glass of water on myself and I become wet. While this changes with the state that it's currently in. If it's snowing, then snow cannot necessarily get someone wet. Same thing with ice. These are three distinct states, all classified under the one commonality, water. This got me thinking about my own personal life. My whole life, my father has always told me, Kyle, our whole family, our entire immediate family lives within the same 3 blocks in the same neighborhood for the past 60 years. Neighborhood. Let us take this a step deeper. An interesting concept. While the same physical and geographic location of the same 3 streets have been the same, over the past 60 years, these streets have been malleable. The houses changed, there can be floods, there was a hurricane. The physical nature of our neighborhood has changed. Yet, for my father, the neighborhood still remains the same. Let us take the case that even the houses remain the same the entire time, and only the people inside of these houses actually changed. Say another family's moved in and out. They bring in furniture. If I drive down the street on face value, this neighborhood still seems the same. The houses are all the same, but on an interior, a sub-classification, the interior of the homes are quite different. All quite different. So when this, of course, when talking about classification, can I really classify something so broad? Of course, we need the terms like neighborhood and stuff like that in order to be able to tell things apart. But a neighborhood is awfully malleable, and it is made up of multiple things. So on this topic, I will leave you with one thing. Does the nature of classification change on the scale and size of things we're classifying? Because in general, if we really want to find something, the true classification of something, we're going to have to dive deep enough to get to a subatomic level in order to find the true root of something. Is this an idea that we want to be pushing, that nothing is unique only at its most microscopic level? I don't think so. Well, this leads us to our next topic, the allegory of the cave. This leads us to a common talked about idea in a philosophy class. Of course, I'm talking about Plato's allegory of the cave. For a quick rundown, imagine there were 3 children born and instantly transported into a cave. They haven't seen any light in their life, and all they know is the interior of the cave. In this cave, they are facing the cave wall, wherein the entrance of the cave is on their backs. All they see is the dancing and flickering of shadows, to the point where they believe that all these shadows are the only thing that's real in their life. They have no other experiences to tell off of. One of the prisoners is freed and he sees the open world, sees all of the marvels, and can't even begin to explain what the real world entails. He tries to come back to tell his other captors, but they refuse. They're not able to accept the truth and to be able to be shown the light, metaphorically. This is such a deep question, such a deep idea, and fundamental in understanding what human nature in general. There's multiple ways we can go by in tackling this idea, this thought experiment. First off, it talks about the human nature of people. Humans happen to be stubborn. We believe what we believe, and we're not going to believe it until somebody comes and truly convinces us. And only when they convince us, it takes long times in order to convince us. Of course, for these guys in the cave, it's almost impossible for them to accept the reality of the real world. It seems like so ridiculous, so much, a lot, and I don't blame them. The reality is that the real world is beautiful and they needed to see it, but it is tough. It's tough to accept this truth. Humans' nature is stubborn, and it's hard for us to think independently, to push ourselves, and that's why philosophy is so beautiful. It allows us to expand our mind and push ourselves, our thought. And this leads me to my current day example of Plato's allegory to the cave. Over the past year and a half, we've been told that COVID-19 has been this dangerous pandemic, which it has, and we had very little information to go about it. It was necessary for us to lock down, and everyone knows that our end goal is back at freedom. But the question is, after a year and a half of being told that this virus is so deadly and so dangerous, how long is it going to take for people to change their minds and accept the reality of back to normalcy? Interesting stuff. Now this leads me to the future. We talked about classification, we talked about the past, and now we're going to the future. And in the future, there will be the rise of artificial intelligence, or AI. This leaves us with our final topic, the topic of artificial intelligence. We discussed this in our chapter of Is Our Smart Speaker Talking to Us? In order to understand this philosophical question, we need to take in part dualism, the idea that our mind and our body are separate. I truly do believe this, because as Elon Musk puts it, we have a coding problem when it comes to communication. Our mind has such wild thoughts, and we have to compress these thoughts into words in order to communicate it with other bodies. That's why he's pushing for modern technology, such as the technology of Neuralink, which will allow two individual bodies to communicate instantly and communicate the full thought. Technology is getting crazy. So this is the idea. Is our mind and body different? I believe that our mind is different, and if our mind is different, we have to ask ourselves why. Why is our mind different? Well, our mind is different because it's conscious. It has consciousness, you know? When we think in first person. What am I going to do, this and that? While our bodies act in third person. My mind tells my arm to move, my arm starts moving. Well, this sort of consciousness, me being self-aware, me understanding exactly who I am, I'm not necessarily sure if a computer will one day be able to be self-aware. Yet, we are approaching this. Currently, we've been using technology to create artificial intelligence, which has been able to solve problems on its own. We are able to program a machine uniquely so that it can begin to think for itself. Machines, on the other hand, as of now, cannot pick up on nuance or individual feelings. If I stub my toe, I know to be angry, but I'm not sure if a machine would know that. We can tell a machine that this may be the emotion used for this time, but true feelings I do not think a machine will ever be able to achieve. So the question is a piece of machine that has a fully functioning mechanical brain truly self-aware, truly conscious? Will it be able to understand emotions and understand the complexity of human beings? These are the questions we dive deep in philosophy, and these are the questions that keep me up at night. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your listening, your patience. And I thank you for all that you've done this semester. And all I have to say is, we'll keep on thinking.